Welcome to the Sport Sesh Podcast. This is our first episode with me, your host Mason Shatwell, and the co-host James Evans. Cheers for joining us, obviously, mate.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Mason. It should be a good show.
Yeah. Well, before we start what we're talking about, both me and James are writers for MMA UK. So if I was you guys, if you want to watch some good interviews, go over to the MMA UK YouTube channel that you'll find on YouTube just by searching MMA UK. They've also got a Facebook page called MMA UK News, and the website is MMAUK.net. And before we start as well, we'll just get our plugs out of the way. So if you want to follow my Twitter, it's at MMA Mason, and if you want to follow my Instagram, it's at Mason MMA UK. Do you want to tell them your @, mate?
My @ on Twitter is EvansJames99, and my Instagram is James.Evans20.
Well, we've got quite a bit to go through now, so I think the first thing we should start talking about is we've got the return of the Prem coming up in a matter of days now. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, obviously, as an Englishman growing up, it's always about football, and I'm a Chelsea fan. I know you're a United fan, aren't you?
Yeah.
So it's good to have the football back. It's going to be a bit of a weird one. I think that the way the Bundesliga have done it, I think they've gone about it in the right way. It looks to be running smoothly, so I hope the Premier League could sort of follow in their footsteps in a way, and hopefully we can get back to a smooth ran Premier League.
100%. But also, I noticed a lot of people were saying online that while watching the first few games of the Bundesliga, it wasn't obviously the standard they was thinking of, but the guys haven't played for 2-3 months, so it's going to take them a game or two to get back to where they once were.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, they've been back now for a couple of weeks, the Bundesliga, and if you watch Bayern, Christ, it's like they've never left. They never had the whole COVID. They've been playing brilliantly. So I think it's kind of taken a couple of weeks just to find their feet, just to find their fitness. And I'm sure with the first about a week or two, maybe 3, it'll be the same like that with the Premier League. But fans can't get frustrated too early because, like you said, they've had 2-3 months off. It's going to be a bit of a weird one for them to be just thrown straight back into the deep end.
Well, the team that's going to have the most eyes on them is obviously going to be Liverpool. I don't see them. They may lose 1 or 2 games, but I don't see them slipping over the title. How soon do you think they'll win it? Because I think it was something like if they win the next 2 games or 2 or 3 games, they could be. It could be against City, isn't it, that they could win?
Yeah. Well, at first I thought it was against Everton, but that's only if City lose, I believe. If the teams around them lose, but they can get it done either by the end of this month or early next month. So I trust Jurgen Klopp to get it done as soon as possible. Really, I mean, look at this. They've been. You can't take away what they've achieved this season. I mean, since Klopp came to Liverpool, it's all been building up to now. You had the Champions League success last year. The year before, you had the Champions League final. I think now this year they've got that core team. They've just swept the Premier League aside this season. They've been absolutely brilliant to watch, and fair play to them. They deserve it.
Well, we've got quite a few fixtures because the first set of fixtures, I believe we're going to go through and say who we think will win, lose or draw. So I say first game we'll start off with it. We'll go in order. First game that's back is Aston Villa and Sheffield United. Which way do you see that one going?
They've been the dark horses this season, Sheffield United. I've really enjoyed watching Chris Wilder and his side. To compete in all fronts in the Premier League is not, it's not easy, and especially for a team like Sheffield United. You look at their squad. It doesn't have a lot of world-class talent, but you look at Wilder. He's got his team playing as a team. Like I said, they don't have the 100 world-class players. They don't have the 100 million players. They don't have the budget for that. And to play as they do as a team, it's a brilliant joy to watch this season. And they're still in the hunt for the Europa League, I believe. So against a team like Villa, I think they're about 8th or 9th, but they're a couple points off Europa League places. And obviously they start at Villa next week, so they'll be looking to get all 3 points for that one.
Yeah, I see him getting all 3 points myself, but with what they've done this season after only just being promoted from the Championship, not much you can argue. Chris Wilder, with what he's done with the team and the budget he's been given, there's not many. There's only probably a number of managers that could have done that in that position that he was in.
Yeah, no, 100%. Hats off to Wilder. I think if it wasn't, I think in my personal opinion, I know people are going to say Klopp, but I think Chris Wilder should be manager of the season because, like you said, to do what he's done with the small squad, small budget, in his first, Sheffield United's first season back since 2006 or around that sort of time. They've been, like I said, a joy to watch, and they thoroughly deserve it. I think Chris Wilder deserves manager's season just because of what he's achieved this season.
Oh yeah, I'd say the two standout teams this season, obviously, what Liverpool have done, as much as it pains me to say as a United fan, what they've done this season, nothing short of great. But also, you can't disregard, like we're saying, what Chris Wilder and his team, because what he's done from being promoted to the Championship and with a budget that can't even compete with even the likes of United, Spurs, Chelsea, a lot of them. He's done, I'd say, pretty amazing with where he's at now. Because I think it was, obviously, before the season started, I'm sure, it might be another team, it might be getting mixed up, but I'm sure Sheffield were like amongst there to be relegated again.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, like you said, with the short budget and that, I think Chris Wilder would have happily taken, 16th or 17th place finish. They would have taken safety. They would have bitten your hand off that. But now you look at them this season, and you look at the likes of Norwich and Villa. They're struggling amongst the pack this season, and Villa have got a better budget than Sheffield United and Norwich. Obviously, at the start of the season, they had Pookie firing on all fronts, but that seems to have dropped recently. So you've got to take your hats off to Sheffield United. They're happy to compete with the big boys, and hopefully they should be here for the long term.
Well, fingers crossed for them. We'll go on to the next game now, which same night as well. It's Wednesday that they're playing, isn't it? Next week, I think.
Yeah, next Wednesday, I think.
Man City and Arsenal. From what I've seen through the week, I know they might have had a few more, but I'm sure Arsenal have had two friendlies, one against Brentford, I think it was, and against Charlton.
Yeah.
I know they won against Charlton 6-0, but they also lost 3-2 to Brentford. I've seen a lot of fans saying online, obviously, we don't know what team Mikel Arteta put out against Brentford, so he could have played the young kids, but we have got to think of the fact that could have been the first team playing as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think with Charlton, I saw a couple of first name players in there, like I said, Aubameyang, and I think probably with the game against Brentford, they might have fielded a weaker side. Maybe they're under 20s, but with a couple of first team players in. And I know, they're going to say, oh, well, we fielded our under 23s, but it's still going to affect the first team as a whole. You don't want to lose to Brentford in a friendly, but it's going to potentially affect them mentally, considering they've got to play Pep Guardiola's City next week.
Yeah, well, also what I was going to say about City as well, I think out of all the teams, they've probably got one of the best chemistry amongst the players, because when City are on form, I'd say they're a more exciting team to watch than Liverpool when they're at the best. But I don't know how this time that they've had away from each other, like not being able to play with each other, I'm not sure if that'll affect the team in any way, if we'll see the same chemistry as we was 3-4 months ago.
I think with Pep Guardiola, he's obviously a world-class coach. He's still learning the game, and throughout the past couple of months, even though we've been in lockdown, there's been no football. Pep, he's going to be the type of guy to still be working, still be finding ways in which he can get his team drilling again when the football does come back. So obviously it's been a rest for the players for a couple of months or so, but obviously now that they're back, I don't think Pep Guardiola's rested at all. He's still been working, trying to figure out ways in which he can get his team back on form, back together. So I think next Wednesday against Arsenal will be a perfect game to implement his the Pep Guardiola way. And I personally see City winning this one just because of the world-class talent they have to offer. And I know it is at home, but I know they don't have any fans, but the home advantage is going to help them. I'm sure, we'll see not the 100% City, but we'll see kind of a City that's enough to beat Arsenal, I'd say.
Well, like I was saying talking about Liverpool before, as much as it does pain me to say, I do, when City are playing even close to the best, I do really enjoy watching them. So I hope the time away hasn't affected the performance that they can put out. But if Arsenal come out like all guns blazing, if they play at the best, I do believe Arsenal could give City a real challenge, because the players they've got, Lacazette, Aubameyang, when they are on form, they can beat some of the best players in the league.
Yeah, I think City this season have suffered with a couple of injuries, certainly at the back. Laporte's had a couple of injuries. They've seemed to have dropped a few. They don't know the best defence. You've seen Fernandinho play at the back at times, so it's just been a bit touch and go with City. If Aubameyang and Lacazette are on form, then you never know. Then they could easily get in behind City's defence and cause them real problems at the back.
100%. My final prediction for this game, I'm going to go for a City win, only because I'm not sure if Arsenal are going to be able to come out at the best, because I think I know it probably was a few of the young players that was playing against the likes of Brentford, but like you were saying before, I do think it could have an effect on the first team, because there was probably a few first team players there, and no offence to Brentford, but Arsenal should be a top 6 side in the Prem, and being beat by a team like Brentford, again, no offence to them, it's going to affect the morale quite a lot, I'd say.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But now the next game we've got, I believe, is on the Friday, I think.
Yeah.
The first one is Norwich and Southampton. I've not got much to say about this game, because both teams, when they play, like we've seen earlier in the season when Norwich beat City, Norwich can play well, and it's the same with Southampton. They've both got decent players, but I've got a feeling we might see a little bit of a boring draw.
You're going for a draw, are you?
Yeah.
Obviously, being a student from Portsmouth, they're always out there. They're always going to hate me back in Southampton.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to get a lot of stick for it, but I'm going to back Southampton this time. I think Norwich are at home, but I think Southampton have got the better quality players. They've got a decent manager. I just think they've got all round in terms of their team. I think they match Norwich 11v11 and they better that. So even though it's at Carrow Road, I do see Southampton winning this one. I think with Danny Ings this season, Christ, if it weren't for him, God knows where Southampton would be. He's been I think obviously he's their top goal scorer, one of the top goal scorers in the league. I think he's got like 13 or something, maybe around that sort of area. So if he can get firing again on next Friday, then I see Southampton winning this one. I think it'll be a close win though for Southampton, maybe like a 2-0, 2-1 or a 1-0. I don't think it'll be the best of games, but I think Southampton will edge it.
Yeah, the next one is probably out of the, I'd say, well, obviously it's going to be the one I'm looking out for the most, but the second most game I'm excited about is Spurs and my team United. With the way, well, I've just seen earlier today that Dele Alli's unable to play in the game for, can't remember which platform he posted on, but he put something about coronavirus and the FA's issued him a 1-game ban, so that means he's not going to be able to play on next Friday against us. But I'm gonna sound biased either way, but I'm gonna go for a United 2-1 win.
A 2-1 win. It's a tough one to call. Have you got Bruno? Is he fully fit? Is he will he be in the team for Friday? As
far as I'm aware, I think he's fully fit at the moment.
Yeah. I think he's been a breath of fresh air for United. I really like the looks of Bruno. Top quality player. You've got him for a good price. He's started very well in his career in the Premier League. Most players tend to struggle, and to go from the Portuguese league to the Premier League just like that, and to perform the way he's been, you've got to take your hat off to him. With Tottenham, I'm guessing Kane will be back. I think so.
Yeah.
The loss of Dele Alli depends which way you see it. I mean, he's certainly dipped recently. I'm probably going to go for a Spurs win only because it's Mourinho.
Yeah.
And he's always got that little trick up his sleeve against his old club. Every time either United or Chelsea come to town, he's always got that little bit of magic up his sleeves in terms of his preparation for the game. I think Kane will be wanting to prove himself after a couple of months out. So I see Spurs nicking it, or the best United can hope for, in my opinion, from this game is a draw. I don't see them winning this one.
Yeah. Well, we both teams have got the great players. I'd say obviously Spurs' star man is going to be Harry Kane, but with United at the minute, like you're saying, Bruno's a breath of fresh air. But we've also got players such as Ighalo, his loan's just been extended. So I think that might bring a bit of positivity to the team, shall we say, with Ighalo not having to go back to Shanghai. But I think at the back we've also got obviously Harry Maguire, and I think this season, although he has made a couple of mistakes, from being the world's most expensive defender, I don't think he's done too bad with the pressure, because a lot of players that say someone that were playing for Leicester, no offence to them, and then they've just been bought and now the most expensive player in that position. I think after playing for a team like Leicester, they could crumble under the pressure. So I think also the signings of Wan-Bissaka, I'd say probably one of the best players we've got on our team. But when he's on form, Daniel James, can't count him out as being a good player either.
Yeah, no, he's been alright. I think with the topic of Harry Maguire, I think he's captained you a few times, hasn't he? So it's kind of shown how great he's fitted into United. But would you say he's worth the 70 mil so far based on performances this season?
I wouldn't say he's worth it, but I think he's not shown his worth. But I don't think he's done too bad with the pressure. I don't think he crumbled under pressure at all yet.
Yeah, I think given United's back line in recent years, they've seemed to have struggled since the departures, obviously, of Evra, Ferdinand, Vidic, etc., etc. I don't think United's back line has been their strong suit, but with the signing of Harry Maguire and Wan-Bissaka, I think they're just starting to get some stability at the back. I still think you need a centre back. I think you need a partner for Harry Maguire, like a top class one, not Eric Bailly, Phil Jones, Victor Lindelof. I think you could next season give Chris Smalling a chance. He's done really, really well at Roma, and I think give him a chance next year. He's got a season. I know it's in Italy, but he's got experience abroad. He's played pretty much week in, week out for Roma, so he's getting the game time. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should take a gamble on him next year.
Well, what's your thoughts on, obviously, with Solskjaer, he's got rid of, I'd say, deadwood players such as he's sent Sanchez out on loan, he's sold Lukaku, sold Ashley Young, he's sold Marouane Fellaini, but there's obviously still some improvement left needed in the squad for the likes. I'd say now the main players you probably need to ship off, probably I'd say Lingard and Phil Jones at the moment.
Yeah, well, no, I thought Lingard's a young talent. 28? God knows. No, I think it's his time to go. Gosh, I feel sorry for United fans that he's still at your club.
I've seen there was talks of Lingard supposedly doing a swap deal plus a cash deal as well with Leicester for the sale of James Maddison, but no offence to Lingard, but I think Leicester probably benefit more just off the cash.
Yeah, they'll want a better player in return. Yeah, I think you've really got to go for Maddison this summer or Havertz. I know we're Chelsea are in the race for him as well, and I think if you get the likes of either Maddison or Havertz, then that will certainly add to what is your talented midfield. You've got on paper, you've got such good midfield with Rashford as well. I think with the likes of either Maddison or Havertz, it's just going to take it to the next level.
Well, we've both said who we think we win. You're going for a Spurs win and I'm going for a United. The next game we've got is Watford and Leicester, and to be honest, I don't see anything else other than a Leicester win, because I think how Leicester have been this season, they're either third, I think they were somewhere
they're third.
Compared to the past couple of seasons after they won the title, I think they've performed quite well this season.
Yeah, after announcing Brendan Rodgers about a season or two ago, you look at him at Celtic and Liverpool, people will probably laugh at the signing, but I think he's done really, really well for Leicester. I've really liked him. Soyuncu's been a perfect sort of replacement for Maguire. He's stepped in and performed really well this season. And obviously, like you said, after a couple of years on the sidelines, I think Leicester are back. And I think if they do manage to keep Maddison, keep Vardy, and keep Chilwell as well, because I know Chelsea are interested in him, but I think we're being priced out of the move for him. So if they keep all those players, plus add to it, then, who knows, they could go a third place finish next season, take the Champions League. Perhaps they'll want to push on for the next season. I still think Leicester are a top 7 club.
Yeah.
They are doing really well this season, so they're going to want to sort of push on next season. You got to really respect Leicester this year. I think they've done such a tremendous job considering the loss of Maguire.
So would you say you're going for a Leicester win against Watford?
I'm going for a Leicester win against Watford, but you can't count on Watford, because obviously what they did to Liverpool.
Yeah.
That was, I don't think anyone expected that. So I think Watford on their day, they could shock a few, but I think Leicester have got this one in the bag. I agree with you. I think Leicester will win this one.
Well, next game we've got is Brighton versus Arsenal, and obviously how Arsenal perform will be depending on, I think, how they perform earlier in the week against City. But say Arsenal put on a decent performance and the result still doesn't go the way, I think the morale obviously won't be up there, but I think it won't be down, because obviously they put up a good performance against one of the top 2 sides in the country. But I know it was a couple of seasons ago, but can't Brighton out, because they shocked United a couple of times, haven't they?
Yeah. Graham Potter signed a couple of good players. I like. I've watched him at Swansea. He's a good coach, good up and coming coach. Brighton's, I say, the suitable club for him. They've got a good couple of players in there. Like you said, I agree 100%. If Arsenal narrowly lose to City, they're going to want to bounce back, and Brighton's going to be the perfect sort of bounce back test for them. Even if they do lose, they're going to be confident for the game on Saturday with Brighton, and I'd see Arsenal winning that because they've already got that 90-minute Premier League match within them under their belts, and just because of their better talent on show.
Well, I'm going for an Arsenal win as well. Try to get through some of these, because if it's stuff I'm more excited about to talk about later with coming up soon.
Yeah, 100%.
We've got West Ham and Wolves next. With how Wolves play, I'd say along with Sheffield, they're probably 2 of the best teams in the league at the minute with the budget they've had. So
with Wolves, it's a tough one, because they always step up against the teams they shouldn't compete against. You've got the Cities, the Liverpools, Chelseas, etc. They do well away to those clubs, and they always seem to struggle against the West Hams, the Brightons, and that sort of teams, that sort of calibre. I like Nuno. He's got such a good squad. You've got like Ruben Neves, Jimenez, etc. Moyes, I think West Ham are going to struggle towards the end period of the Premier League. I see Wolves with nicking this one, just purely based on I just don't know if West Ham got that cutting edge just to beat a team like Wolves.
Yeah, I agree with you as well with the Wolves. And then we move on to Bournemouth and Crystal Palace. And I'm going to go with my second draw prediction. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
I'm going for a draw as well. It's a tough one with Palace because you never know which Palace is going to turn up, because they can beat some really top teams on their day.
Yeah.
Same with Bournemouth, but I don't think we're going to see as an entertaining game. I think it's just going to be a dull 90-minute game. I'm going to go for a 0-0 draw on this one.
I do believe with both of these teams, I think the chemistry that some of the players have, I think, will be affected a bit after, obviously, the COVID-19 and the lockdown stuff. But I'm hoping, obviously, that the chemistry is back a bit, because who wants to watch a boring game of football? But I do agree with you, but I'm going for a 1-1 draw. We've then got, who's next? Newcastle and Sheffield United. Obviously, with Sheffield playing earlier in the week as well, same with Arsenal, their performance is going to more than likely be based on how they play in the first game of the week.
Yeah, I think with Sheffield United, the advantage over Newcastle is that they've already played. Same with the Arsenal Brighton game. Newcastle at home, I think they're going to want to make a real statement of intent, because you've got the majority shareholder takeover and that sort of thing. So if it does go through, I'm not sure if it has yet, I don't know. If it does go through, then the players are going to want to prove to themselves that they're still worth the money and they're still worth playing for Newcastle, rather than getting binned because of all that money that the owner's going to splash in. I like Sheffield United. I fancy them away, but I'm going to go for a draw in this one. I just don't know if either team will have the cutting edge in the final third to get past the keeper, because Dubravka's a good keeper and Dean Henderson is also a good keeper. One I think England should consider in the near future. So I think we're going to have a 0-0 or 1-0 in this one.
100%. I agree with you on the Newcastle section, obviously, with the takeover that either is or isn't going to happen. I think even if it doesn't happen, I think the players will still want to prove themselves, obviously, because with the talks of the huge money deal, if that one doesn't come through, it might make other investors think, oh, I might want to invest, and then still may have the Newcastle players thinking, I still want to prove myself. But as you go for a 0-0, 1-1 draw, I've got a feeling Sheffield United might nick it late on in the game. I'm going to go for a 1-0 Sheffield win. Yeah,
I can see a 1-0 late on. Cool.
Then second to last game, I think you're probably keeping a good eye on this. Aston Villa and Chelsea. Same with Sheffield and Arsenal. Villa's performance is going to be based on how they perform against Sheffield, but I think with the positive stuff that's going around with transfers with Chelsea and how good of a manager I say Frank Lampard is for it it's his second or third year in charge as a manager, I believe. I do believe Chelsea next 2-3 seasons will be backup challenger for the title. So I'm going to go for an all-out 3-0 Chelsea win.
Christ, that's a bit generous. Well, that's a bit optimistic. Chelsea scoring 3 goals. The problem with us this season is, they're working on that lead. And the longer we have a 1-0 lead, the more it invites teams on to push on for an equaliser and then to push on for a winner. With Aston Villa, Obviously, you've got JT as the assistant, knows Chelsea well, obviously. However, from what I've seen from Chelsea in this sort of lockdown period, the players are determined more than ever to get their fitness back up, and they want to play their football again because we've got so many young players who are just keen to play 90 minutes and to play games. We've Chelsea played already, I think, a day or two ago, and they've got another game on Saturday. So it's good that they're getting 90-minute matches under their belts for a game like Villa. So I think if we see a good Chelsea turn up, I see us winning, potentially comfortably as well, depending on which Chelsea shows up.
Yeah. Well, the last game of the first set of fixtures, like I was saying, the United one's my second one I'm most excited for. This, apart from United and City, is the fixture I look out for mostly when the fixtures are released. Liverpool and Everton, and this time round it's at Goodison. I'm also surprised that they've chose to play it at Goodison, because I know there was talks of them potentially playing at the Etihad, because they was worried that a load of fans were going to turn up, because there was a chance of Liverpool, obviously, well, there still is the chance of Liverpool winning the league at Goodison. But I don't see Everton troubling Liverpool at all, because I think with how I know the loss before the COVID started could have affected Liverpool, but I do believe that I've got a feeling they're just going to slot back right where they left off and get a comfortable 2-0 win over Everton.
Yeah, I think they're going to. Jurgen Klopp's probably going to have. Well, he's probably had a few words with this team, to say we're in the middle of a global pandemic. The football's back. We're going to want to wrap this up as soon as we can, and it's going to be a real statement of intent for them to beat their big rivals in Everton, and then to push on for God knows how many games left they've got until they win the title. From what I've seen as well across social media, they've been training really well. The players have seemed to have, they've got the morale back, they've got the team spirit back. So I think if we see a top Liverpool turn up on their day, whichever team Jurgen Klopp puts out, I think it's capable easily enough to beat Everton.
So would you say you see Liverpool? I don't see Liverpool winning it at Everton, but obviously it's possible. Do you see it happening at all?
It depends on results elsewhere. If the other teams elsewhere, obviously City, get it done, then obviously it's not going to happen at Everton. So it all depends on that City game. I think they're all going to have their eyes on that one, the Liverpool players.
100%. Now, I'd say I want to ask your prediction for the top four. For my top four prediction, as much as I'd love to see it happen, don't see United getting near the top four. I think 5th, 6th we're looking at. But first, I'm gonna go with Liverpool. Much as it pains me to say, Liverpool are gonna have it in the bag. Then second, I'll go City. Third, Leicester. And then I don't know who to say for, because it could be given to anyone.
Yeah, I think City and Liverpool are going to fight top two, with Liverpool coming out on top. City second. Leicester, they could slip. I don't think they've got that big of advantage against us, so they could come back. I think with Chelsea, they've sort of bottled the chance to, have a comfortable gap over the likes of Arsenal, United in 5th and 6th below. And if they can capitalise on Chelsea, then who knows? I think Chelsea will get it. I think they'll get the 4th spot. So it'll be a tough one. They'll probably go right down to the wire, because Chelsea's still got a couple big games left. So if they can get it over and done with early on, then who knows? But I think Chelsea will get it, just because I'm a Chelsea fan.
Yeah. Well, I know we weren't planning on talking about this, but I've also wanted to ask, FA Cup, with the teams that are still in it now, who have you got a prediction on who you think will win?
Oh Christ, I can't remember at the top of my head who's still in it. I know Leicester are playing us.
I know United's got, I think it's United and Norwich, I think.
Yeah, something like that. Are City still in it? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
City is still. I can't
We
remember off the
knocked
top.
Liverpool out. I
Yeah,
remember that. I think either Chelsea, United, or City will win it. A good cup run for Chelsea will be a good season, but away to Leicester is never easy. I think United with Norwich, it's the quarterfinals as well, I think. So United at home to Norwich, got back then to go through. I see City winning the FA Cup personally.
yeah. As much as it pains me to say again, I do see City winning it, but hopefully if the draw's on United's side, well, no, I'd rather see United lose to City in the semi-final than I would rather in the final, because United fans are just as bad if it happened to United, but we wouldn't hear the end of it off the City lads.
No, 100% no.
But yeah, I think we've done quite a bit on football. Now to move on to why I'm in the position I am with the interviews, and you had the chance to interview a great during the week. If you'd like to explain a bit about
that. So I literally, as you do, just got in touch with Damien Meyer, and I never thought he would respond. It took him about 2 or 3 days before he responded, and he's doing a bit of work right now with his podcast and his YouTube. So he thought, I'm happy to give you a call, and we can just discuss his career. We literally just discuss his career, what his plans are for the future, what's next for him, and all that. And yeah, he was a really nice guy, to be honest with you. He's very humble. He's very easy to talk to. I know English isn't his first language, but our conversations flowed really well, and he had a lot to say for himself. And it was a pleasure to speak with a legend like Damien Meyer.
Well, if you want to tell everyone where they can find the interview, because I gave it a read, and I'm not the biggest fan of written interviews, but I tell you what, I could have read a lot more of that, because what the interview was, I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, mate. I appreciate that so much. Yeah, I in the long run, I want to try and get more audio and video interviews. Yeah. But you can check it out on my my professional account, UFC Deluxe. You can follow that Twitter as well. And I think if you can't find it via UFC Deluxe, I think I've just submitted it to MMA UK, so it might be on the MMA UK website soon. So if you want to check out the interview, then feel free, either on MMA UK or UFC Deluxe.
Well, I've got a number of interviews over at the MMA UK YouTube channel, with some including one of the, I wouldn't say pioneers, but some that very experienced in British MMA, my trainer, Sean Lomas. That was my first interview. And then my two of the big ones I've had, the champions, I interviewed Samir Faidine, the French Cage Warriors flyweight champion, I think it was, and I was so shocked that I managed to get hold of him. Alexander Volkanovski, the UFC featherweight champion. I tell you what, speaking to someone like Alex, when I first started off at MMA UK, I said my goal was to speak to an active UFC fighter, and my first UFC fighter, within a week of doing interviews, I jumped straight to the champion. So couldn't really have asked much more. So if you guys want to see the interview that I've done with Alex, it's over at the MMA UK YouTube channel, so go check it out. But what I wanted to talk about now is 4 of the main performances at UFC 250 that just happened this weekend. We'll start with the main event. Amanda Nunes, dominant display as always. Do you see anyone troubling her at the moment?
No, not in the near future, unless they get a trilogy fight with Valentina Shevchenko. Yeah. I don't see. I personally want to see that next, but I saw Dana White come out and say, we're not interested. What we want to see is Valentina versus Weili. So, what is next for Nunes? I see she says she's going to take the rest of the year off because her and Nina are having a child. Yeah. I've seen Holly Holm versus Irene Aldana confirmed recently, so I think the winner of that one will get the fight with Nunes. I think that'll be the fight next, in my opinion.
I also seen on the BT Sport YouTube channel with the guys over there, like Adam Carroll, Dan Hardy, and Nick P. I can't. It might have been there, but I can't remember it. I'm sure someone said that if they was Amanda, they'd cross over to boxing.
I'm seeing a lot of talks with I can't remember her name. That boxer, Clarissa something.
Yeah, that's
Clarissa Hills or something. I can't remember at the top of my head. But there's talk of her coming into the MMA cage, which I would not recommend at all. Not with a woman like Amanda. So her best bet is probably Amanda stepping into her game. I don't see that happening. I think we've seen McGregor versus Mayweather. I don't think we'll see a crossover again, personally, in my opinion.
Well, I know with Amanda, a lot of people. Well, I'll go back to her last fight against Jermaine Durandame. A lot of people, I'd say, no offense to them, but I'm gonna call them casuals. That a lot of the casual fans were shocked that because all they'd seen really of Amanda was after she won the title, and they've only really seen her stand there and bang against the likes of Ronda and Chris Cyborg. But we can't count out the game on the floor of Amanda. So if Clarissa was to come into the MMA world and face Amanda, even I think she could have the edge on Amanda on the striking, but on the floor, I don't see her having any chance, to be honest with you.
That's a very underrated aspect of her game. I think her defense as well, or defense. So I'm speaking American. Her defense to be taken out is phenomenal. I don't think she's been taken down in Christ, God knows how many years, and that kind of just shows that everyone looks upon her striking and her ability to knock people out. But to go into a fight with Felicia Spencer, and Felicia Spencer is a well-known artist on the floor. She's a very good ground and pound artist. She can submit you. She can do anything on the floor. She's absolutely brilliant. But Amanda Nunes beat her at her own game. She was willing to go into deep waters and take the fight to the floor and beat her at her own game on the mat. And you've got to take your hat off to Nunes, because that's not easy to do against Felicia Spencer.
Well, I know, as you're saying, Holly Holm, if she fights, when she next fights, the winner of Holly's next fight could be the next challenger for Amanda. Whoever wins that fight, I don't see anyone troubling Amanda for the next few fights. Minimum for Amanda, I don't see any problem for her. But as we know, it's the MMA game.
It's the MMA game. Anything can happen.
Takes one punch to put them out.
But obviously, you look at Holly Holm versus Ronda Rousey. No one expected that.
No.
But it's Amanda Nunes. I don't see anyone stopping her for a while.
Yeah.
It's got to take someone special to beat a woman like her.
There was 3 fights on the main card in the bantamweight division, and I know it had quite a lot of people talking. We'll go to the co-main first. Cody Garbrandt hadn't won since he won the title against Dominic Cruz. Then, unfortunately, 3 KO losses in a row, 2 to TJ Dillashaw, but we know what TJ was on, so we'll try not to get into that too much. But his last loss as well, it shouldn't have happened. But now, do you believe he's back? Do you believe he's back to his best?
I think he's done well in terms of bringing in a new coach. Mark Henry is obviously a world-class coach. Everyone in the MMA game knows him. I think he executed the perfect game plan. As and so he didn't go out guns blazing and get emotional. He fought sort of not necessarily the old Cody Garbrandt, but he was very cautious of us and so it wasn't, from the first bell, he wasn't gonna go in guns blazing and look for the finish, because he could get caught. And I think for the first 2 rounds, I had Cody winning them. And then obviously you saw him just viciously knock him out. Is he back? I think he needs one more fight to prove he's back. I mean, Assunção did do a little bit of damage in the fight, but not too much to test Cody. And I don't think it was the biggest of tests for Garbrandt. So I think he needs one more fight to prove he's back. And I think I've written a piece on it. I think I said that. I don't know why. I think I would like to see him fight Marlon next, Marlon Moraes. I also had him potentially fighting Marlon next, but I know we'll get on to UFC 251 too. But I know obviously on that card there's the bantamweight title, Petr Yan and
Jose Aldo. I also had him potentially fighting the loser of that fight.
Yeah, that's a good one. I see Jan winning the title. So would Aldo? God, he would have lost about 3, 4, 5 fights in his last 7, 8. So would he want to call it quits if he loses to Jan? Who knows?
I think he would. But also, Cody versus Marlon, if that fight was to be booked and take place, who would you have? That's the question.
That is so tough. That is really tough to call. I genuinely don't know. I think it goes to a decision. It depends if it's a 3-round fight or a 5-round fight. If it's 3-round, I see it going to the judges. But if it's a 5-round, someone could get late finish, because Marlon is not one to overlook. He's such a good little fighter, and I think he proved that in his last fight with Aldo. I think Aldo might have edged it. I don't know, it's a controversial one, but he still beat a top guy like Aldo. So Marlon's not that much of a walkover. It's really difficult to beat him. It's going to be a tough one between them two, though. I don't know. I say go into the judges' scorecards.
I believe if Cody fights with the same, I wouldn't say anger, but frustration that he did in his previous fights before his win, I see a Marlon win. But like you say, if Cody is not at his best, but if Cody fights the way he did against the Suncell, I believe it would go to decision. There's also there's 2 more bantamweight fights that we're going to talk about. Aljamain Sterling and Corey Sandhagen. I also had who was it? I also had Cody potentially fighting Corey Sandhagen as well, potentially. Yeah,
that's a perfect sort of redemption fight for Sandhagen, because before going into that fight, I thought Sandhagen was going to take it via decision. He's the more sort of dark horse of the division, Sandhagen. No one really speaks of him. And then you realise he's number 4th in the division in what's a really stacked weight class right now. So you've got to put some respect into his name. I think it will be that's one for the matchmakers. I think either Jan or Aldo, the loser of the recent fights, would be perfect for Cody Garbrandt, because it's a platform for him to show that he's back, and it's a test for either Aldo, Jan, or Sandhagen to prove that they're still capable of performing at the top, and then a win will put over Cody Garbrandt will put them back in the title mix.
Well, with Aljamain Sterling winning his fight at weekend, I know I've seen an interview with Dana where he basically confirmed that he'll be fighting for the title against the winner of Jan and Aldo. If say Jan wins the title and Sterling fights Jan, do you see Sterling potentially winning the fight, winning the title?
His best bet's what he did against Sandhagen on Saturday night is his wrestling. If he takes him down early on, then if he takes Jan down early on, then I think he can just pick him off on the floor. Sterling's got to be cautious of his Jan's knockout ability, because you can't take anything away from Sterling's performance over the weekend, because someone needed to step up, because it was essentially a title eliminator, and Sterling, my God, did he step up. And Jan's a bit of a tough test for him, and he cannot match him in terms of striking. So his best sort of bet is on the ground. If he can take him down early and frustrate Jan, then who knows? He could grind it out for the full 25.
Yeah, that would be a good fight. Hopefully that does happen. But the fighter that I've been most excited for as an upcomer in the bantamweight division, Sean O'Malley, winning his fight at the weekend. Same as Garbrandt with a walk-off KO. What did you make of the fight?
I mean, what was it? In under 2 minutes? You've got to respect O'Malley. I think it's been a while since it's been a while since we've seen like a raw talent. Just he's 12-0 now. I think it's been a while since we've had that sort of a talent just burst onto the scene, but in the right way. Yeah. talents who are undefeated, they have one fight under their belt in the UFC and go, I want to fight the top 5 ranked guy next. I want to fight the top 10 guy next. O'Malley's picked his fights perfectly in which suits his style. And he's proved now that he's capable of competing in the bantamweight division and amongst the best. I would like to see him fight John Dodson next. I think
is that what I got down there?
It's a perfect test for him, and it's a perfect test for opponent like O'Malley. It's a good test for O'Malley to be welcomed into the top 15 because I know he's ranked now.
Yeah.
And John Dodson, I think he's got wins over. I think he's beaten TJ Dillashaw. He's beaten some big names.
Yeah.
So it'd be a tough test for O'Malley, but I want to see him fight John Dodson in his ranked debut, so to speak.
Could you give us because I love watching O'Malley. I'd go with him winning the fight. Who would you say win that, Dodson or O'Malley?
I think O'Malley will win, but it won't be via a knockout early on. I think it's going to be a tough test for O'Malley. O'Malley's going to get frustrated early on. I think he finishes it. It's obviously going to be a 3-round fight. I think he finishes it late in the 3rd or something. I think Dodson will frustrate him a few times, but just based on O'Malley's sheer height and his reach, just what he brings to the bantamweight division, I see his striking ability and his striking game coming up trumps and beating Dodson. It'll be a tough.
I've seen there was talk of potentially down the road O'Malley versus Garbrandt. If that fight was to take place, you see
it's too early.
Yeah,
it's too early for O'Malley. I think even though Garbrandt lost 3 of his 4 last fights and he's just got back on the win column, I think the experience will sort of get the better of O'Malley. I think Garbrandt can match him in terms of striking, but if he fights like he did against Munoz, then O'Malley could catch him. But if we see that more precise and skillful Garbrandt, I think he'll just pick O'Malley apart. It's too soon.
Well, hopefully after a few wins, I know I'd like to see that fight a couple of, I'd say, year or 2 down the line. But in your eyes, within the next 2-3 years, could you see O'Malley winning the title?
In the next 2-3 years, if he's smart in terms of who he fights next and who he continues to fight and just works his way up, then I can see him challenging for the title in 2021 and then maybe winning it in 22. Who knows? He's what, 26, 27, 25, so he's got time. He can't rush into the sort of big fights now. He's got all the time in the world. He's got all the makings of a champion, in my opinion.
100%. Well, I say we go on to the UFC 251 predictions. I will start from the opener of the main card up to the main event. Ribas versus Paige Van Zandt. What's your thoughts on that fight?
I think this is obviously Van Zandt's last fight on a UFC deal. Whether she signs a new one or not, I don't know. Ribas, I think she beat Dunn recently, a couple of months back. So that's a big win, I think. Van Zandt obviously is not as active as you think. So I think Ribas will take that one just because of sort of activeness, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a Ribas win as well. But there's also the next women's fight on the card is a rematch between Jessica Andrade and Rose Namajunas.
That's a close one. They're both coming off losses, aren't they?
Yeah.
Obviously, Namajunas.
Whaley, wasn't it?
Whaley, yeah, and she hasn't obviously fought since. I think Andrade might nick it. I want to see Rose win it, but I don't think she's got the interest to compete at the top level again because she's always delaying her fights. She's not seemed to have got that passion, considering she was a former champion. It doesn't seem like she wants to get the belt back. So I think based purely off that, I think it'll go to a decision. I think, or Andrade will finish her off, because I just don't see Namajunas having the urge to get back on the winning column and, competing for the belt again.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, the three title fights is for the vacant bantamweight title, Petr Yan and Jose Aldo. As much as I'd love to see Aldo win, I'm going for a Petr Yan decision.
Yeah, me too. With that being said, I think I'm going to try and sort of give reasons as to why Aldo could win, because obviously he's fought at the top for such a long time. He's undefeated in 10 years before McGregor beat him.
Then he walked into McGregor.
Yeah, walked into McGregor's left hand. So he's got the experience over Yan in the big fights. Obviously he's lost recently. Whether Aldo's got the motivation to win, I don't know. It's just against Marlon Moraes, he didn't really fight the Jose Aldo that we all knew back in the day. And I think if Yan his last win was over UFA, but one that he hasn't beaten any in terms of like ranks. He hasn't beaten any top ranked bantamweights. This is his biggest test, yes. Yeah. I think at the top of my head. So Aldo could win based off experience, but I see Yan either getting a late finish in the fourth or via decision.
I'd love to see Aldo win, but as you say, the way he fought last time, it wasn't the Jose Aldo way. But if he does fight the Jose Aldo way that we all know and love watching, it could be a tough night for Yan.
Yeah, it could be one-sided, because obviously this will be Yan's toughest challenge yet, because he hasn't fought anyone of that caliber yet. So who knows? He could sort of crumble under the pressure, and the sort of hype train around Yan could be derailed by a Jose Aldo masterclass.
Do you believe that Yan could crumble under the pressure then?
Just because he's fighting for a title fight, it's sort of the first pay-per-view on Fight Island. All of the eyes are going to be on him. So who knows? Some fighters sort of thrive under that, but who knows? It could be the mental game could be God, excuse me. But yeah, the mental sort of aspect could play into Yan's hand, and who knows?
Well, I know there's the fight I'm most looking forward to, the featherweight title match. Alex Volkanovski and Max Holloway. I'm going to sound biased because whichever fighters I interview, I won't say an emotional attachment, but I'd like to see him win now. As much as I love watching Max, I want to see, like you say, my boy Alex win.
Don't get me wrong, Alex and Volkanovski. I saw a lot of his pre-fight interviews before Holloway, and he was very confident in himself. And in his interview with you, and I think people should watch it. It's really worth a watch. I really enjoyed it. He seems very confident in himself and in his ability. And as a champion, you need that. And in his interviews before Holloway, he's like, everyone who beat Holloway just prepared wrong mentally, physically. I'm going to be the guy, even though he's got the reach and sort of the height, I'm going to be the guy to beat Max Holloway and become the new champion. I've got to respect that with Volkanovski. He's a phenomenal fighter. And he's beaten likes of Chad Mendes and Jose Aldo as well. So I think with the fight, I think if he fights the way he did against Holloway, I think he'll take it. I think he'll go to a decision again. I think Holloway, I don't see him. I love watching Max Holloway. He's such a phenomenal fighter. Yeah. He'll go down as one of the featherweight greats. And if he beats Max Holloway, and if he beats Volkanovski and finishes him, then it sort of cements him again. But I think it'd be a tough night at the office for Holloway. I like Volkanovski. I think it goes to 4-5.
If Holloway does pull off a decision or even wins against Alex, do you believe we'd see a third fight down the line?
Yeah, but not right away. Right. I think Volkanovski will fight a top contender next. I think depending on the sort of situation between Ortega, the Korean Zombie, and Zabit, one of them will get the fight next, I think.
Well, when I was interviewing Alex, one thing that I did that I'll give him a lot of respect for is for someone that just come off the back of a win against one of the two greatest featherweights of all time at the moment. He was so humble. I thought it'd be like I didn't have a thing to think, oh, it'll be like, oh, I'm Alex Volkanovski, I've just beat Max Holloway, but the way he acted, how gracious he was in victory, but also his confidence as well. That's something that I wouldn't ever knock, because he's one of them people that he'll say something, and from what we've seen so far, he's backed it up.
Yeah, 100%. I think he's the type of guy to be humble in victory and defeat. You've got to respect him highly as a champion. Like I said early on, before his fight with Holloway, he's set out a game plan to beat Holloway, and he's sort of fixated on that. And I think everything he'll say, he'll back it up, and you've got to respect that in a champion like Volkanovski. And sort of the UFC really needs that.
One thing that Alex said to me during his interview, which now looking back on, I didn't think about it as much, but now looking back after what he said, I kind of agree. I asked him how long does he think he should reign champion for, but also does he think he'll make it into like the GOAT list of the featherweight? And from what Alex said, he said he's just come off the back of wins against Chad Mendes, the greatest, I'd say, Jose Aldo, and the second greatest, Max Holloway. He's got to be in talks at the moment to being up there.
If he beats Holloway again, then he'll sort of really stake a claim and put himself up there. As of right now, I think he's there. I think if he just needs a few more fights in order to cement that sort of GOAT legacy and the GOAT status.
Well, another thing that he said to me while I was talking to him, I asked him, obviously that same question, and what he said to me made me laugh during the interview. In my face, he said he'd like to fight Conor at 155, just so obviously he's not mentioned in the featherweight talks again. And I do believe with Alex's, like, he's a strong guy for his size. I think as much as people probably give me hate for it, but I'm a McGregor fanboy. As much as people give me hate for it, I do see that being a good fight if McGregor was training at his best again. But if we see it, I don't think Dana will. If Conor doesn't fight for the title and he's serious about his retirement, I don't see Dana trying to get him out of retirement for a fight with Alex.
No, I think if he is retired, I don't think he is personally. I think it's just a negotiation tactic to get him back in there, put his name out there. But if he is retired, hypothetically, if there's one fight that's going to get him out of bed and get him motivated again, it's not Volkanovski.
No.
As much as I'd like to see Volkanovski fight at 155, I just don't think he's going to fight McGregor anytime soon.
Well, I know Alex also said that he'd think he'd give a lot of people, I think he said from middleweight downwards, he'd give a lot of people a good fight. If the weight he used to be at, he probably wouldn't have a problem getting up to that weight. But he also said he'd believe he'd give the champ a good fight in Khabib. If that's true, I don't know, but I don't think Dana will be making that fight anytime soon.
You've got to respect his motivation and his will to compete at the best, but no one's got any chance with Khabib right now. I think Gaethje, you never know, but Volkanovski's not an established lightweight. Give him a couple fights at 155, and then we'll see if Khabib's still champion, of course. Then give him the fight with Khabib, but I don't see him beating him.
With Khabib now, I think it's UFC 253.
50, yeah.
Rumoured for him and Gaethje. If Gaethje catches Khabib with some of the shots he caught Tony with, I think he will rock him, because we've seen a couple shots that Poirier caught Khabib with, and Khabib, they must have hurt Khabib a little bit.
obviously you look at Dustin Poirier's boxing, it's probably the better, the more sharper in the lightweight division and in the UFC. With Gaethje, he's such a phenomenal striker. He's a different fighter from when he lost the 2 in a row. I think he just was like a Garbrandt, so to speak. He went in guns blazing, always looking to entertain the fans. But now he's more strategic and tactical. And you look at the problem against Tony Ferguson, like nobody's ever done that to Tony in his career. So he's earned the right to fight Khabib. I think what helps Gaethje as well is his wrestling background. Whether it's enough to beat a guy like Khabib in terms of defending Khabib's takedowns, I don't know, because Khabib will literally just maul you until he gets you on the floor. But the more the fight's standing, the more the sort of scale leans towards Gaethje, because he cannot stand with Gaethje for the full 25.
Well, I know with Gaethje, when I know we was watching some of the fights together on the phone for a little bit, 249. When I was watching the fight with Gaethje and Ferguson, obviously with no crowd, you're going to hear more or less everything that the cornermen are saying. I heard Fingy's coach say, don't put all your power in the punches, because I think it was in the second round you could see some of the lunges that Gaethje was throwing, and they I've got a feeling they was 100%. He was throwing 100% into them punches. But do you think he'd have a problem with going too hard into Khabib, like trying to put all his power into shots instead of precision?
I think it's going to be, I agree. I think if Gaethje just goes out guns blazing early on and just tries to look for the finish, and it's more like he's not as cautious as he should be against Khabib, then, and Khabib sort of senses it, then he's going to punish and act on that, because he'll see Gaethje tired, constantly throwing, looking for the finish. And as soon as Khabib spots that, all he needs is that one little chance to take him down. And, on the floor, it's always, draining for a fighter. It's always difficult fighting on the floor, especially against Khabib. So if he's going to throw early on Gaethje and put all of his powers into his punches early on, then it really is going to be a tough night for Gaethje. He needs to be more precise and more clever in a way.
Well, we'll go on to the last fight of 251. Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns for the welterweight title. I know earlier in the week the fight was offered to Leon Edwards, due to it's not travel restrictions, but due to whatever's going on with Leon at the moment, we weren't able to take the fight, unfortunately, which I would have loved to see. But I also think we've got a cracker of a fight in Gilbert and Kamaru.
100%. Gilbert is one of the more active fighters in that division. You've got to respect him. I was just following him on social media with my dog account. He's just so determined to win the belt, but he's also respectful at the same time, because obviously they're training partners. So would that sort of play into sort of whose hands? You don't know. They know each other well. I think Kamaru should have taken a fight. Well, I think he should. If he fought Masvidal, then it would have been more comfortable against Masvidal than it would for Burns, because Burns has got the ability on the ground. Obviously not necessarily as great as Usman, but he's able to sort of defend Usman's takedown. And in terms of striking, I don't know who you'd lean towards that one. It's going to be a tough one in terms of standing. He causes a lot of problems for Usman, I'd say, but Gilbert Burns.
Well, I know in Usman's last fight against Kobe, a lot of people was thinking, oh, this could be, as much as us hardcore MMA fans love watching any fight when it's good, I know a lot of the casuals like to just see people throw and trade hands, but I think we got the complete opposite of what we was expecting in Kobe and Usman, because I was expecting a wrestling game, but that was a straight out war. I think I read a stat that I don't think any of the guys threw a takedown at all in that fight.
Christ. Yeah, no, 100%. I enjoyed the sort of build up to it and the undercards and that sort of fight. And I thought main event, we're going to see 25 minutes. They're all American wrestlers who know what they're going to expect. But you can tell right from the get-go they weren't going to take each other down. They were going to try and knock each other out. And you got to respect that. And I was really impressed with Usman striking. He had he could take some of Kobe's shots. He had a chin. He had the ability to throw back, and eventually, which led to the finish. And you've got to respect that. So he has got the power, Usman. So it will be a tough one for Burns, because he proved against Kobe that not only is he an elite wrestler, but he's also got a striking game to back his ability up.
Well, I was going to say you've got to respect the fact that Gilbert Burns 2 weeks ago, coming up to 2 weeks ago, has only just come off the back of a win against the former champion, and some would say one of the greatest champions we've had in recent times, in Tyron Woodley, just coming off that and now fighting against, obviously, got to be the best welterweight at the moment. But, as you say, both of them are going to be able to compete slightly with each other in the wrestling. Also, the trading in blows and that. I do have a feeling that Kamaru, I've got a feeling we're going to see Kamaru's wrestling side come out again. And I think, even though Burns can wrestle a bit, I do believe Kamaru's going to have the upper hand on the wrestling.
Yeah, 100%. It's not as good as Usman's. Obviously, he does have the ability, but nowhere near as good as Usman's. I think I see this one going to the full 5 rounds as well. I think if Usman's under pressure by Gilbert Burns at any point in the fight, he'll just take him down, sort of adjust his get his breath back in a way, and just sort of pick Gilbert Burns off, like, in terms of on the floor, opposed his game plan. And I just see him grinding it out for the full 25, because, like I said, if he puts Usman under pressure early on Burns, I think Usman's certainly got the ability, just to, as obviously the champion, just to reassure himself and sort of implement his game style and his fighting style and his game plan, just to relax himself and sort of drag the fight out and frustrate Burns for the full 25.
100%. I do believe that we will see, and no offence to Burns, I'm not the hugest fan of Kamaru, because there's no reason. You've got your favourites in each aspect.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy watching him. But I would love to see him fight either Edwards or Masvidal after this fight. So just based on them two fights alone that we want to see, I'm gonna have to try and say that I hope Usman wins this fight.
Yeah, obviously Usman's fought Edwards before, with Usman winning. I think it was by decision or something. Either way, Usman won. But now Edwards is on like a 8 fight winning streak, 8-9 fight winning streak, and he's become a better fighter since that defeat to Usman. And I think Edwards is one of the more sort of dangerous challenges in the division for Usman. I'd like to see Masvidal just simply because of the back and forth they've had, especially at that Super Bowl media sort of scrum. There's so many options for Usman if he wins against Burns, because coming into his next title fight before Burns, I don't think anyone could have predicted it, or anyone would have said it would have been Burns. So he's got options on the table if he beats Gilbert next month.
So, I agree with you on that point. But say, for example, Gilbert doesn't win that fight, who would you match Gilbert up with next? Would you say him sticking at welterweight or going back down to 155?
I don't see him coming back down to 155. I think welterweight, he's been at welterweight for past 2 years now or so. I think this is his weight class. He's gone on it's like a 6-fight win streak now. He's such on a good run at the moment. I think against Usman, if he loses, then I think he'll face a top contender next. I don't know, it'll be a tough one. Depends what the situation with Kobe.
Yeah.
Because I think he'll fight Woodley next, Kobe.
Yeah. I know there's another fight announced by the UFC through the week for 252, is it? Stipe and Cormier 3, the trilogy. I say, if Stipe wins, I see him potentially having one last fight, like you were saying in our group chat, against Ngannou. But if Cormier wins, Cormier's retiring either way. But if Cormier wins, I think Stipe will retire along with him as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think with Miocic, obviously as of right now in the global pandemic, he's sort of more focused on his firefighting career, and some people have given him a lot of stick as a UFC heavyweight champion, not really imposing himself as a champion, not going about as a champion should. Like, he's not really been interested in fighting. You've got to respect sort of his firefighting business and the work he does outside the cage. But as a champion in a big promotion, you've sort of got to stay active in a way. You know, you've got to call out these guys. And I don't think Miocic has got the. It's more of like a chore for him to fight. Like, he'll fight once a year, maybe. He's not really fussed. So I agree. If he does lose, maybe we'll see like an Ngannou Blades, depending on how he does against Volkov, sort of vacant heavyweight title fight.
But I'm going to go with my prediction for the fight. I am going to go with Cormier to win, because this time last year, if you asked me, I wouldn't have said Cormier based on the fact I was a huge John Jones fan as well. So I not hatred like John Jones had for DC. It was always a bit of a I prefer John Jones over you type of thing.
Same.
But I do now, after watching like DC do his commentary and that, and know what he's been doing for the game, I'd love to see him win and go out on top. I don't want to see him retiring after a loss.
No, 100%. Like, everyone wants to see DC go out on top because he's given so much to the sport of MMA. He'll go down as one of the true GOATs. Definitely a future Hall of Famer in the UFC for sure, because he's just given so much of his services to the sport of MMA, and it's the least he deserves, really. I'd love to see him go out on top with a big win against Miocic, the rubber match, 2-1. That'll do him nicely for retirement.
100%. Now, a few more things. I'll go on to the boxing bit I was going to talk about. AJ versus Fury has just been announced that there's 2 fights ready to go next year. But as we know, Fury Wilder 3 is set to happen as well at some point, and also AJ and Pulev. With AJ and Pulev, I do see AJ winning it even before the Fury fight was announced.
Yeah.
But I see him fighting the way he did. Now with the Fury fight on the line, I see him fighting the way he did against Ruiz in the second fight. A lot more cautious and going for the technical win.
Against, if you fought with Fury or with Pulev?
When he fights Pulev, I think he'll go for a more technical to try and secure that fight with Fury. Yeah,
because obviously going into that fight with both fighters, there's a lot at stake. You know, in the back of their minds, they want to focus on Fury AJ, but they've got to be cautious of their next opponents because they've got to fight before. And if one of them loses, what position does that put them in? Does the fights go through? Or?
If one of them loses, I don't see the fight ever happening, to be honest with you.
Neither. So it's added pressure to them before the fight against each other.
Yeah. I would love to see AJ Fury, but as we know, Fury's got one of the hardest hitting heavyweights of all time stood in front of him in Deontay Wilder. But I'd say if Fury comes out the way he did against Wilder in the second fight, I do believe Fury could have it, because Wilder wasn't prepared for Fury to take centre stage and put it on him.
No, right from the first bell, he was just all over him, and then throughout the fight, he just looked like Wilder just looked like a drunk bystander, and like Fury just picked him apart, executed the perfect game plan. I think before the fight, I watched some of his documentaries with RTV, and I think for the Wilder fight, the second one, he got some new coaches in and sort of got the best out of Fury. He said, look, against a guy like Wilder, I promise you, I can guarantee you will, and you can, and you do have the ability to knock Wilder out. And look at what he did at centre stage when the world was on, the world was watching. It was absolutely brilliant. I watched it myself. Like I stayed up for it like 5 in the morning just to watch a brilliant. Is, in my opinion, probably one of the best performances by a British boxer on foreign soil, God knows how long. You've got to respect him. I don't know what Fury I want to see for against Wilder in the third fight. I don't know. Like, if he fights the way he did in the second fight, does Wilder come in more prepared for that Fury and sort of gives him the edge in terms of having the ability to knock him out because he knows Wilder's going to try and knock him out. Fury's going to knock Wilder out. Or does Fury sort of go back to his roots where he just grinds it out for the full 12? You just don't know. I don't know which one. It's going to be a tough one for Fury in the third one.
Well, fingers crossed both Fury and AJ win the fights. But I know, obviously, Fury AJ, there's a 2-fight clause put in place.
Yeah.
I see Fury winning them both, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I think if AJ, he's going to take the Ruiz 2 approach, he's just got no chance. Fury's going to impose his sort of style, his traditional style, and just grind out for the full 12, executing the great game plan that we know Fury's, because mentally and strategically, such a great boxer. If he sets out a game plan, he'll stick to it. And if he does that against AJ, then there's no doubt he'll win the 2 fights easily. I think he'll win it easily as well.
Yeah, I do believe the same as you. But now, seeing the time we've got the podcast at, I think it'd be a good time to cut the first episode off. So, guys, this was the Sports Sesh first ever episode, so got to be careful because you've just watched history in the making. The next episode, I think we're gonna film one day next week, but I'm not sure what day. I'm sure both me and James will put it out on both our Twitters. And again, go follow both my Twitter and James's and both our Instagrams. And one last thing, make sure again go over to the MMA UK website, which is MMAUK.net, and check out some of my articles and some of James's, because we've both got some great stuff on there. And go check out mine along with everyone else's interviews over at the MMA UK YouTube channel, because there's some great interviews, not just myself, because I know I've interviewed the likes of Alex Volkanovski and Samir Faideen, but there's also some big names on there. We just had Glenn Williams on the team interview Mark Hunt, so I'd go give that interview a check out as well. So I look forward to seeing everyone in the next episode. Cheers, guys.